everyone, it's Michael, and it's time for the March 2019 Orchid Collection update. You guys, I am so excited about this update just because it's spring now, and you can really tell that it's spring when you look around at the plants and see how quickly they're progressing. So there are so many exciting and interesting things happening that I can't wait to share with you. Now, I will say that you're receiving this update a little earlier than expected. Typically, I wait till the end of the month, but I am going to be departing on a lot of business travel, and I wanted to make sure that you received it before I left. So on that note, let me just take a moment to celebrate my dear sweet husband who always very graciously takes care of 60 plus plants in my absence. Justin, you are the real MVP. I don't know what I would do without you, so thank you so much, honey. Now, having said all that, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in terms of the actual system. Now, this month, I am continuing to flush once to twice a month with reverse osmosis water, but things have shifted quite significantly. So in the past, what I would do is I would flush with reverse osmosis water, I would dump out the water reservoir, and then I would mix up a batch of nutrient solution and fill the water reservoir with it. Now, this was inefficient. I felt like it was wasteful of water, and it had some secondary consequences, like if the plant didn't use all of the nutrients, it would eventually create some mineral buildup. So I was wondering if there was a better way to do this. So my mind has actually been spinning because my Catasetums have been doing so phenomenally well. And for that reason, I've been really inspired by slow release fertilizer. So I'm starting a bit of an experiment where I'm incorporating it into a lot of plants. Now, this is not based off of any specific unit of measurement. This is all based off of intuition. So if it's a small container, I use a very, very small amount of slow release fertilizer. If it's a large, well-established plant with a really healthy root system, I might use more. But I'm actually monitoring and tracking exactly what I'm doing, and I will follow up with you on the results. But that really is how I'm shifting my approach for this coming season, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. Now, I do want to introduce a new orchid to the collection. I really didn't intend to get her, but she just batted her eyelashes at me and told me she was coming home with me, and she was right. So I want everyone to welcome number 60 to the collection. This is my Bulbophyllum Peggy Roth Carpenter. I found her sitting all by herself. She was the only one of her kind. She was drowning in a sea of Phalaenopsis, but she was at Whole Foods, oddly perfectly labeled and identified. But she is so strange and so wonderful. Now, I can't tell, I don't know if you guys can see it, but each bloom is a slightly different color. Like the one at the top is like green with purple accents. The one in the center here is purple with white accents. The one at the bottom down here is, it almost looks white with purple and green accents. Each bloom is quite different than the next, and I just fell in love with her. She is so, so gorgeous, so I'm so excited to welcome her to the family. She is an Oncidium type, so I have every confidence that she's gonna do really, really well, assuming that she doesn't have any pre-existing diseases or fusarium or anything like that. But welcome number 60 to the collection. I love her so much. Now, the last thing I wanna say is, and you guys are probably getting so tired of hearing it, thank you so much for my continuously climbing count of subscribers. I still don't understand what's happening, but I just passed 22,000 subscribers, and it just means the world to me. And I think what excites me the most about it is, I think that when we put our focus on nurturing life as opposed to chastising others or critiquing other people, we really get to make the world a better place. So I feel like every person who's a convert to growing orchids is in their own unique and special way contributing to the world being a better place, to there being more oxygen, to there being more greenery, to there being more life. So I don't know if I sound like a hippie when I say that, but I feel like we're doing something really beautiful and really beneficial for the world by collaborating on this channel and cultivating life. It's just really special. So thank you guys so much for being here. Now I'm gonna stop flapping my gums at you. Well, actually I'm gonna keep flapping my gums at you, but I'm gonna do it specific to my orchid collection. So let's go ahead and jump in. So we're gonna start with number 3 in the collection. Now number 3 is starting to recover after I massacred it while I was dividing it. I will link that video below, but never do it the way I did it. I took a knife to it and it just really, really damaged the plants, the root system. Half of the division died, and this one is now slowly, slowly making its way back to life. If I take you into the base, you can see that there is a new growth coming in. There was also this new growth that it produced, but it's super, super tiny in comparison to its old pseudobulbs. And it also started to flower spike, but then it aborted, which is no surprise because the root system is still struggling to establish itself. So I hope I haven't permanently killed this one, but it does seem to be on the road to recovery. Now moving on to number 7, this is my Dendrobium nobile to my kids, and it's actually doing phenomenally well. It has 2 new growths. It's got one right here, and it's got one growing in the back. Now the only disservice I did to this was I got super excited to give it some direct sunlight, and you can see it gave it a couple little sunburns here and there. So I just need to find a better home for it where it's not gonna get so much direct exposure, or maybe I just need to put up a nice little white curtain so it has some filtered light, but that is what's going on with number 7. Now we'll jump to number 8. This is my Banfieldara Mystic Maze. And this one, what I really wanted to point out is look how quickly it has shot out this new growth. This one classically does that. It grows its new growths super, super quickly as soon as spring hits. And this one just like popped out of nowhere, you guys. So super expansive, super, super rapid. Now on to number 13. This is my no ID Frag, which by all rules of logic should be dead by now because it has been so mistreated. I still struggle with Phragmipediums, but Ed from Ed's Orchids has been so helpful and so generous with his insights. So I've been flushing more regularly. This is one of the very few exceptions in terms of flushing. Rather than doing it once or twice a month, I do this one maybe every 4 or 5 days, depending on if I'm home and available to do it. And it seems to have completely halted the die-off. You can see there was a lot of die-off right on the tips, but it really is doing a lot better. I've also incorporated, like I mentioned earlier, some slow release fertilizer, and that seems to be helping as well. I do think that the big distinction here is it's not sitting in a reservoir of stale water. So as I flush, it releases nutrient solution down to the roots, but it's never staying in the container. It's never sitting in the water. So that seems to be really, really helping. Now, moving on to, this is my current pride and joy. This is number 16. This is my Dapper Dots Nicolasa Tavares Catasetum. And you guys, look at it. Look at it. I'm just so excited. And then it has another flower spike coming in there, and it's got another flower spike coming in. Where is the third one? Oh, right over there. Do you see it? It's doing so remarkably well. And I thought I had really just like ruined my chances of seeing blooms this season because as soon as these new growths started to come in, I was like, God, okay, I missed my chance. But I didn't realize that this blooms off of immature growths. I don't know what this plant looks like, you guys. I know what the parent plants look like, but I've never seen it in bloom. When I purchased it, they didn't have a picture of what this hybrid looked like. So I kind of feel like a mother waiting to see what the face of her child will look like. Like I've had this plant for well over 2 years, and I'm so excited because this is the very first time I will ever see blooms. So that is what's going on with number 16. I am so pleased. Now I'm filming this one slightly out of sequence because I forgot it even though it's hanging right in front of my face. But this is number 17, my Betty Mae Steele Carmela Ascocenda, and I just recently got it repotted into basket culture. I will link that video below of how I did it. But it seems to be really enjoying its new life right here in the window and with its roots up in the air. It seems to be breathing. It's, you know, it's the weirdest thing. It really is just an intuitive sensation you have from the plants, but I can tell it's happier. I can tell it's doing better than it was in semi-hydro. So that's really wonderful. Now on to number 18. I thought this one was doomed. This is my Zygopetalum. It did so terribly. And then I finally got reverse osmosis water and it started to bounce back quickly. So you can see this is one of the old growths or one of the new growths that started while I did not have reverse osmosis water. And it is just slowly rotting away. But as soon as I got the reverse osmosis water, it put out this new growth. And look how happy and healthy and green it is. It's coming in just fine. It's coming in really quickly. So I'm super pleased to see that this one appears to be on the road to recovery. And it's putting out quite a few new roots. If I take you into the base, you can see it's really starting to get cozy with the top layer of sphagnum moss. So that's really wonderful and positive. Now moving on to number 25, this is my Epidendrum Green Hornet. This guy has been pretty consistent for me, and you can see, look at it. It's got a flower spike. It's just starting to poke through that sheath. So I'm super pleased to see this one in bloom again. I really love how it smells. I know the smell can be polarizing for other people, but to me it was just kind of like a spicy licorice. Now on to number 26. This is my Aloha Stellar. And this one, what I wanted to point out on it is it's doing really well. It has this beautiful new growth coming in. I also got overzealous, similar to number 7 in the collection. I just immediately put it in the window because I knew it wanted more light. And you can see the impact. It started to yellow right at the tips. So in my Orchid Care for Beginners video, which I will link below, I talk a little bit about how you can use the color of the leaves as an indicator of whether you should up the light levels or lower the light levels. So this one was a dark shade of green, so that's why I knew I needed to give it more light. As soon as I put it in the windowsill and gave it direct light, it turned to this shade of yellow, so that's too much light. So now I can reel it in and just kind of find a nice happy middle ground between those two. Now we're gonna move to number 28. You might notice she looks a lot smaller than she has before. This is my Cattleya Purple Blue Hawaii, and I finally, after years of talking about it, divided her. And I'm actually still feeling kind of conflicted about that decision because she hasn't done much since I divided her. I did it about a month ago. So I'm so accustomed to this one just like ravenously consuming nutrients. I'm used to it ravenously drinking down its water reservoir, expanding its root system super quickly. And it's been kind of just unremarkable. And that is very uncharacteristic of how this orchid has behaved classically for me. So I'm keeping a close eye on it, but if I take you up here, you can see all of her little babies. I did make a choice this time around to ensure that I did not place these in direct light. I feel like once they've been divided and the root system has been kind of fractured a bit, you want to give them some nice peaceful time and just bright indirect light. So I'm just letting them chill out up there until they establish a root system, and then back in the window they will go. Now let's move on to number 34 in the collection. Wouldn't you believe it, you guys? This has almost been in bloom for about 3 months. This is my Ludicea discolor, and boom, look how big. I just can't believe that this guy is still in bloom. I didn't realize it was gonna stay like this for so long. But she's just trucking along, doing great. As soon as the flower spike is done blooming, I will clip it back. I will get it repotted because I know it wants to be in a more wide container so it can really sprawl. But for now, this is what it's in, and she clearly doesn't seem to mind it. Now we're gonna jump from number 34 to number 36. This is my Fred Clarkiara SVO Black Pearl. And what I wanted to point out here is that nothing is happening, which seems funny, but especially as a comparative point of reference to what's happening with my number 16 Catasetum, the Dapper Dots, it is just on such a completely different cycle. And I've heard about people like forcing their Catasetums into the same growth pattern so that they can care for them all at the same time. I'm not doing that just yet. I'm gonna continue to observe it and really see if it will eventually and slowly calibrate itself. But as of this moment, it hasn't thrown out its new growth. It hasn't done much of anything since it went dormant. So I'm continuing to watch this guy, and we'll see what will happen. Now, this one is such a huge victory for me. I'm so excited. This is number 39. This is my Zygonesia cynosure. Such a difficult plant, so difficult, and went through a very similar trajectory as number 18, my Zygopetalum. I thought it was gonna die for sure. It dropped every single leaf. But then, out of nowhere, here comes this new growth right after I incorporated reverse osmosis water. And right after that new growth came this flower spike because they grow off of immature growths. And look what is just starting to open, what is just starting to bloom. I wanted to kind of take you into it if I can. But look at the promise of so much beauty inside of there. I am so excited to see this one in bloom. Now, if you look over here, it did have a third bloom that blasted, and I thought I was gonna lose the entire spike. But I just think sometimes plants will commit to creating a flower spike and then they realize they don't have the energy to sustain it. So if you lose one bloom, don't panic, just like, don't even mess with anything. Just continue to observe it and do exactly what you're doing, because you panicking and trying to shift the entire equation will definitely cause the entire spike to abort. But it did give me 2 gorgeous blooms, which is much more than the 0 I expected, so I will take it. Now on to number 46 in the collection. This is the highly requested Oncidium Twinkle White Pink. And I did get this one repotted because it was drinking down its water reservoir super fast. It didn't really put out, I mean, it's putting out new growths, but I never saw the root system get super expansive. So I went ahead and repotted. I added a top layer of sphagnum moss. Right now it is molding at the top, which, you guys, one of the things to know is you can't panic when that happens. I like to use that as an indicator, okay, it's molding on top, which means it's acclimating. It needs to be flushed more regularly. There's buildup in the container. Perhaps some of the roots are rotting away. But just because you see mold doesn't mean you need to panic and undo anything. It just means that you need to be more diligent about flushing and helping it acclimate to the new system it's enjoying. So that's what's going on with number 46. And I actually do feel pretty confident that it's gonna get really happy and comfortable with this new layer of sphagnum moss. It just needs some time to adjust. So now we are looking at my Cymbidium Murasaki sinense. And this one, I was not sure how it was gonna do in semi-hydro, and it actually appears to be doing quite well. This growth actually just got sunburned quite a bit in a couple of different places. So it's weird because it's always sat in the same windowsill and it never quite burned like this. But I also think part of that is the addition of slow release fertilizer. I think it makes it more susceptible and easy if there is too much mineral content. So, I mean, you can tell from the design and the shape of this that it's a sunburn, But I will say that it wasn't doing that before I added the slow release fertilizer. So maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's not, but only time will tell. But I will say that it's also given me this brand new growth ever since incorporating that slow release fertilizer. So I'm continuing to map out how that will impact the development of this plant. But for the moment, that's what's going on. Now on to number 49. This is my Miltoniopsis Burtfield Eileen. Now similar to my Zygopetalum and Zygonesia, this one was not doing well. Every single new growth it had, it aborted. But check out this new growth that's coming in the dead center. Ever since I switched to reverse osmosis water and elevated the humidity levels in the apartment, it seems to be trucking along. So I don't want to be too optimistic because I know that these are super, super difficult to get to rebloom, especially in an urban environment that is at room temperature or comfortable for human temperature. But at the moment, it appears to be doing just fine. Now we're gonna jump to number 54. This is my Cattleya Volcano Prince. And I just can't say enough good things about this one. Its root system filled the container and it was already doing really, really well. But as soon as I added that slow release fertilizer, you guys, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, this just got so erect. I mean, look at these. The leaves are so firm and happy and just, they look like solar panels when they're in the sun. They are just greeting that sunshine and taking it all in. So this one appears to be really, really responding positively to the addition of fertilizer, the change of season. This one is just doing phenomenally well. Now I'm super, super excited. This is number 56. Now you guys may or may not know this, but the Miltonia Sunset is my favorite orchid. I don't know what it is about it. It just is my favorite orchid. There's something so beautiful and happy and sunshiny about the yellow and the pink. It just makes me feel overjoyed every time I look at it. I was so devastated when I lost my old Miltonia Sunset, but I had purchased this one as an insurance policy. I never wanted to formally include it in the collection because I was rooting for my old Miltonia Sunset to come through, but it never did. And I had that Miltonia Sunset for almost 2 full years, you guys. Now this one I've had for about 7 months. I converted it. You can see, look how quickly it adapted to semi-hydroponics. It loves the top layer of sphagnum moss. It has really just been doing phenomenally well. And already, look what I discovered. It's got a flower spike on the way. I could not be more thrilled. This gave me, after being repotted, this is maybe one of the record turnaround times from being repotted into semi-hydroponics to going into spike again. I could not be more pleased with how this one is doing. I just never expected it to accelerate and develop so quickly. This is just a big win for me and I can't wait to see your beautiful blooms. Now we're gonna jump to number 57 and that is my No ID Vanda. I can't believe it's still in bloom. It has just 1 bloom left. But it seems to be doing quite well. It's happy. It seems a lot happier ever since I put it in a basket and its roots are in the air. So this seems to be doing just fine and I'm curious to see how it'll continue to develop. Now on to number 58. You guys, I'm so excited about this. My Coryanthes is just doing amazing. I wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to get it to do well because they are purported, I don't really know. I don't have a huge point of reference on it, but they are allegedly quite difficult plants. But look at this, you guys. That is 1 flower spike. There's another giant flower spike right there. There's potentially a 3rd one coming in right next to it. And here's what I want to show you. I don't know if you guys can see, but that little black marker, that was me. I put that line on there 3 days ago to track how quickly it's growing because it's growing so fast. And look at it. It is doing amazingly. It's developing so quickly. You can really see those flower spikes coming in. So I can't wait to see this in bloom. I think it's actually doing quite well. And given the way that I've been caring for this, I do think I have a pretty clear understanding of how I'm going to repot it, what I'm gonna put it in. So I've really just been observing this one and learning from it, but it's on a really fabulous track. Now down here, we'll go to number 59. This is my Cloesia Rebecca Northern. And I repotted this one and gosh, you guys, did I mess this up again? I have a bad run of luck with Cloesias, but I repotted it. It seemed like the right time because it had the new growth. It was coming in. I wanted to make sure that that new growth put its root system down into a semi-hydroponic system, but it just kind of appears halted right now. It's not dying back and it's not dying off, but it's still figuring out what's going on. So I'm really, really hoping that this one pulls through because I've wanted it in my collection for so long and I lost my old one, which I will link below. But fingers crossed this one pulls through. And with that, it's pretty much it, you guys. There are so many things in Spike. I'm so, so excited. There's so much beauty going on right now. So I'm really, really eager and excited to see how things develop. Now, just a nice reminder, I'm only showcasing the orchids in my collection that something new, different, or interesting is happening with. But if there's something that you really, really desperately want to see, just let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to include it in the next orchid collection update. but there's a lot more plants in my collection than what I featured. I just try to keep it focused and keep this moving. So as always, thank you guys so much for choosing to spend your time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Don't forget to click subscribe and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye guys.